Welcome back to LinkU Plus, everyone. This is not the typical daily video that will come out later today. I am back home, but as you can hear, I did actually fall sick from traveling and probably being stressed out too much. Just tested for COVID. It's not that. It's just a common cold, it seems. But I still wanted to make a little bit of an analysis on the recently dropped gameplay video. Now, I did watch it live on stream yesterday for the first time, but because I was coughing and my voice was even more kind of messed up, I decided to not upload it. It's just not the quality I want uploaded. It kind of makes me uncomfortable that I'm coughing around and stuff. And even though you guys might not care, it's just kind of, it's not something I want to upload. However, I will link the link to the live stream in this video if you want to watch my initial reaction to it, if you don't mind me occasionally coughing or sounding congested. I'm aware that my voice right now is still not top notch. I'm sad that it had to come down to this way because I really liked watching it. Obviously, I was super excited for it. But again, I'm gonna link it in this video's pinned comment and description, but I'm not gonna be uploading it. It's just not something I'm comfortable with. Now, I want to analyze this gameplay, but I'm not gonna go over it start to end of the video. Everyone has already done this. I've watched a bunch of other analyses, like Celtic ones, and most people have already uploaded theirs. So instead, I picked out specific details that we were kind of able to work out yesterday when watching the video, and those are the ones I'm going to focus on. Details that you may have missed and that other people may have missed or decided not to talk about that I think are quite interesting. Let's start with the minimap in the bottom right corner here. That is really interesting to me. What's so interesting about it to me is that we can actually see what seems like the pathways on this map. Currently, and I know this map very well because in speedruns we never actually get towers, these lines on the map kind of show off the tower areas that you actually get when activating a tower. But these lines now resemble the pathways on the map, which I think is interesting. It begs the question whether you actually ever can obtain the map for the overworld. I feel like there's no way that you won't ever get the map, but I kind of like the idea kind of like reversing the original approach to not have a map for the overworld this time, so that you are forced to explore more and actually go to points of interests with vehicles, etc., instead of picking them up or picking them out on the map first. Now, I do think there's a way to get the map, but it's worth noting that it does seem to be working a little bit different, and I don't know why the pathways specifically are highlighted on the minimap. One brief thing that I also want to talk about is the coordinates on the map. A lot of people have already pointed those out, and a lot of people have also pointed out that they will likely also work underground. I just want to highlight the fact that I was blown away by this gameplay demo, especially about the scale of the Sky Islands. I really didn't expect the Sky Islands to feel so big, and we haven't even seen anything underground in terms of gameplay. We see later on in the trailer a bunch of these holes in the ground that I'm assuming could be entrances to the underground world, which makes me think that it's actually going to be quite the massive area. Let's play it here for a little bit. I think the camera pans down, and this might actually already be too late. This shot goes on for quite a bit. You can see one here and one here. Presumably, potentially, these are either puddles of malice or maybe actually entrances to the underground. We don't know. Now, I want to go away from the Dueling Peaks shot. Again, I'm not going to point out things that everyone has already pointed out and focus more on a little bit of a niche observations. One small thing I want to point out here is Link is going up, and this is something I'm not sure about myself. This was just pointed out in my chat. When the camera turns here, you can actually see it under the shield icon right now. There's a little bit of a small creature right there. This could be a bird, an animal, but somebody suggested that this might actually be a Korok. I know we've seen a Korok seed with a backpack earlier in the trailer, but somebody pointed out this could be a Korok, and I kind of see the resemblance. It almost looks like a Korok holding one of those like fan leaves in his hands. Not sure if this is actually true or not. Interesting observation. It could just be a simple animal. Next up, we're going up to the Sky Islands, and the first observation I wanted to make here, again, is just how absolutely massive they are. This is another thing. Other than the fact that okay, this is actually getting more in depth than I had planned. I had some points written down, but I hope you don't mind this kind of like this kind of rant about this. When you go up here, when the camera pans up here, you can actually see something in the sky that is presumably a dragon. You can kind of see it in the black outline here. It seems like that dragon shape It disappears from the camera quite quickly again, but after the camera turns around again, we see another dragon. Now, none of these dragons resemble any of the dragons we've seen previously in Breath of the Wild, so they could both be new dragons. It's about to show up here when it turns around. This is definitely not the same dragon, like the other one was much higher, flying up in the sky, and they seem to be on screen basically at the same time. What their purpose and importance is to the story and the gameplay, we don't really know yet. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the constructs a little bit more. I agree with Zeltic on this one, and I don't know how many other people have pointed this out, but I don't think the soldier constructs are necessarily angry. The point I want to make with this entire video is that likely this place we see in this gameplay demo, this construct of islands here, is the equivalent of the Great Plateau, the Great Sky Plateau. There's going to be more points that hint us in that direction, but I'm going to be talking about them more later. I think the soldier constructs are basically here to test Link's fighting capabilities. Just like that big iron golem is probably going to be some sort of major test of strength. Think of the Guardians in Breath of the Wild. In general, and I just want to briefly make this point, it's crazy to me how we still know nothing about the story, and we definitely know now that all shrines and almost all Sheikah tech is gone. Another point that people haven't really talked about is that all of the Guardians that used to be here are no longer prevalent. Now, this could be time travel related, but I really don't think so. Beedle looks pretty much the same. A lot of things look too similar. My new theory, and I'm probably going to talk about this on MQ Plus more, is that this almost seems like an alternate timeline in which the Zonai was the more prevalent tribe than the Sheikah. It's really weird, and it all doesn't make sense, but we'll learn about it soon enough. And I just briefly wanted to talk about this. Now, at the 4-minute mark here, actually, before I go about this, so there's the soldier constructs, right? They seem to be testing Link. And then we learn about another group of constructs known as the ranger constructs. And people pointed out that, yes, you can talk to them. They seem to be friendly. But I made some additional observations when it comes to them. And that's where they are specifically positioned. Zeltic talked about this too. He talked about that, yes, they are next to cooking pots. But even more important to me is they are next to specific materials. In this case, this ranger construct is gathering something. A ranger, I'm kind of thinking of like, yeah, a gatherer, a forest ranger, somebody that's picking up stuff. Maybe talking to them will actually grant you knowledge on specific materials. In this case, I'm assuming it's going to be the stem bulb, which presumably is going to give you more yellow stamina. That's usually how they work. Actually, no, the stamella ones usually only refill your stamina, where the endura ones... they refill a little bit of green stamina, where the Endura ones give you the yellow stamina ones and completely refill your stamina wheel. This was a little bit confusing, but maybe you know what I'm talking about. And presumably they will teach you how these materials work, especially when cooked. This will make more sense later when we see the other one next to the cooking pot. Maybe they will also teach you these materials capabilities when fusing. And yes, of course, just like everyone else, I'm completely excited for the fusing mechanic. It sounds so cool to figure out what the most optimal fusing abilities for speedrunning will be. But this is the big kicker for me. Link enters this cave and there's some hot peppers on the side, a lit cooking pot, and inside this cave there's more hot peppers. Now, I think this ranger construct will tell you about cooking chili peppers. This is something we all found out in Breath of the Wild when we wanted to reach the Cryonis Shrine. But you know what's over this cave? There's a ranger construct here, there's chili peppers there and a cooking pot. This ranger will likely teach you how you can cook chilies and what this will do, because there is a cold area right above this cave. And I'm assuming that this cave actually leads you just there, to this cold area. Now, another thing I briefly wanted to talk about when it comes to fusing. So I basically think the ranger constructs will be your instructor for cooking materials and maybe materials for fusing. Because one other thing I want to talk about is material fusing. And this is something I'm surprised not many people have pointed out. Now, we know now that you can fuse materials to your arrows. But it's important to note that this material menu is constantly on screen. It's on screen even when Link has a sword equipped. So I haven't really heard many people talk about the fact that you can likely quick fuse materials to your weapon. Now, it's not confirmed that this will work because they only went over arrows, but I think there's a big chance that you can do this. Actually, it's already confirmed that it works with shields, right? Because likely the way that the puff shroom was attached to Link's shield here is I actually have never seen that there's only one tier vial here on the side of Link. I feel like I've never paid attention to this, just saw that for the first time. Very interesting as well. This might actually even further strengthen the theory that I'm going to talk about here, about this being the new Great Plateau. But yeah, the Puff Shroom being attached to the shield makes it so that likely, which by the way, the Puff Shroom is going to be broken. Like if you've ever seen like Trial of the Sword speedruns, being able to immediately start sneak striking things is literally broken. But yeah, basically my entire point is that you can likely quick attach materials to your weapons to make a makeshift ice weapon, a makeshift shock weapon. That sounds incredibly broken, almost as broken as the fusing mechanic itself to me. But being able to quick fuse materials to your weapon and combo them is going to be so exciting, not only for combat players, but also for speedrunning and optimizing the game. And I can't wait to try it out. If that's possible, we know that it's possible with shields and that it's possible with arrows, but I think it's also possible with weapons. It just wasn't shown here. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the Ultra Hand ability in general. I'm a little bit scared about this ability because it seems very strong and not for its intended purposes. Now, Ultra Hand is used here to build vehicles, but we've seen Ultra Hand used in a previous trailer to kind of turn around an island. You can actually see these islands, these cubes that are also kind of glowing up in a previous shot when Link first uses Ultra Hand, basically glow in the back. So I'm assuming that you can almost Ultra Hand all sorts of bigger objects. And if you've ever seen a Master Mode speedrun, the way that speedrun kills a Lionel is by simply magnesising a metal boulder and then constantly hitting it due to how the physics engine in this game works. My biggest fear is that Ultra Hand is somehow gonna be the biggest broken thing for dealing damage by simply slapping enemies all over again with motion controls and Ultra Hand in combination, and I really hope that's not gonna end up being the case. Now let's talk about the biggest point that I want to make in this video before I talk about two small crackpot theories. And that's going to be that everything we see... Sorry for the voice crack, again, my voice is horrible. Everything we see in this trailer on Sky Islands is going to be the equivalent of the Great Plateau. And why does this make sense? Here's a shot from Crazy on Twitter, another viewer of my stream. He kind of basically put together all of the maps we've seen. Very nicely done, by the way. And this all really does look like some sort of Great Plateau. Possibly that big, like, we've seen this multiple times. I'm trying to get the right shot here. Again, these videos are scuffed, so my apologies for not having this, like, edited. That's not the point of this channel. And I'm also not gonna make a video like this on my main channel. I just want to say again, because I'm not, at the end of the day, I'm not a theory, like, lore YouTuber. I'm really glad that a lot of you seem to be enjoying this content, but I just want to remind you of the fact that this is not really what I do. I just play the game and I try to play it well. I'm glad that you enjoy it, but I just want to say, yeah, I'm not gonna sit down and edit a video like this. That would be the easiest way for me to lose interest in this sort of stuff. But I think it's where the homing arrow shot is. At least I thought so. It's this big structure that we've seen time and time again that kind of looks like a big tooth. I don't know why it's so hard to find right now. Even though you guys probably already know what I mean. You can actually see it there. Like this one in the back. This more and more, I think this is the exit of it. Makes me think like maybe this is some sort of new Shrine of Resurrection. Maybe this is actually where our journey will start. And then you step on to this new Great Plateau. Crazy also pointed out here that these 4 blue markers appear, which are very similar, and Celtic pointed this out in his theory video. They're very similar in terms of the icon to these swirly things that we've also seen time and time again now. The one up here, there's for example one there's one in Hateno. They are in similar positions to where shrines would be, so I'm more convinced now that this will be our new shrines. Maybe there's exactly 4 shrines here on the new Sky Plateau. Maybe you even get the 4 abilities there, right? We have exactly 4 abilities again. Ascent, Ultra Hand, Fuse, and Recall. And maybe they're gonna be taught to you here. I also thought it's interesting that these cave symbols with the check marks, we can see them later in the trailer. I already talked about this during the Ascent ability with the Ranger construct. it seems like those icons are not actually where the cave is positioned, but more where the entrance of the cave is positioned. So maybe they are originally blocked off, and you have to first find a way inside, and that's how the check mark is actually triggered. But basically, there's so many points for this being the new Great Plateau. The rangers explaining you things like cooking chilies to prevent cold damage. These random ability parts just being scattered around the land. I personally think this really does seem like the Great Plateau. I don't know if the culmination is going to be getting this Iron Golem at the end here. Another big point is, and Zeltic pointed this out, 4 hearts on Link's inventory here in the top left. He has 4 hearts, maybe you start the game with 3. And on this file he has beaten the Great Plateau. Now there is one point that technically speaks against it, which is that the spiral shrine thingy on top of the cold mountain in this trailer doesn't actually show the swirl yet, which makes it seem like it hasn't been activated yet. But obviously for the sake of the trailer, this could easily have been changed in retrospective. There is a swirl shrine thing here on the Sky Island that you see in a previous shot, and it hasn't been activated yet, so that would speak against that theory, but we don't really know how the swirls work yet. Actually, I'm not sure if we see a single swirl thing on top of the Sky Island. What if this works exactly the opposite way? I'm kind of making some live observations as we go. Unless I'm wrong, I don't think there is a swirly shrine thing. This is actually really interesting to me. I don't think there's a swirly shrine thing on the Sky Island here. So what if it works the other way around? They start with the swirl, and after completing them, the swirl gets removed, which would then again maybe confirm this Great Plateau theory. Just throwing that out there, not claiming it to be true, but I think the Great Sky Plateau theory is a pretty strong one and makes a lot of sense to me, especially with how this entire gameplay shot has been set up and it being a demo. It just makes sense. Now, one other thing I briefly want to talk about, this is a super small detail. 2, actually, I have. I want to talk about a bird, which may sound a bit weird. But there's a bird specifically in this shot. You can kind of see it flying here. You can see it a little bit better there. Now, this could be a completely normal bird. One of the birds that Aonuma hits later with the homing ability. But I thought it looked a bit weird. It almost looks a bit spirit-like. Like a little bit like Bloopy-like. That bird stood out to me, and don't really know if you see that too. It almost looks like sparkling. A little bit mysterious to me. The other thing I want to point out is also super interesting. And this is during the falling shot again. Link falls down because he gets, Aonuma, I guess, gets blown off by one of those soldier constructs. And we get a brief glimpse at the Akala Citadel, which is one of my favorite locations in Breath of the Wild. And it stood out to me because, and this is probably, to me as a speedrunner that plays this game a lot, I'm also pretty good at Hyrule GeoGuessr, I know locations quite well. All of the locations that used to have a tower on them, to me, automatically look a little bit weird. This back there, this cube, is the Akala Citadel, and you don't see the tower on it, which already makes it look weird, but it seems to be like more geometrical shaped to me. Almost more complete. And the reason I probably see this specifically strong is because of a tweet from Jellyfish Mario about the Akala Citadel. Let me open that one up. Now, this was originally done by GPTA ODC in the Tears of the Kingdom subreddit. They actually found that this shot with the Blood Moon from a previous trailer, and I thought this was in a different location where you get a Korok seed because it looks very similar, but look at the background. You can actually see Polemus Mountain here in the background and the ocean kind of like at the end of the scene. This is where the shot is taken, at a broken ruin in the Akala Citadel. You see the Polemus Mountain there, you see the sea, again, the mountain, and this is exactly where the shot is, right at the Akala Citadel. But it is currently broken. So this could be another hint towards the Akala Citadel potentially being rebuilt in Tears of the Kingdom now. For whatever reason, I don't know how this entire timeline makes sense anymore. I don't know if this is the future, the past. But the last thing that I will agree with a couple other content creators here, and I think this is not only super interesting, but one of the most exciting possibilities for me, is this slab of bricks. This slab of bricks is so exciting to me because it really does seem like that the reconstruction of Hyrule is in progress. And just having the possibility that maybe in post-game or during the game, you get to rebuild Hyrule. You get to rebuild these runes, make Hyrule feel more alive, and eventually end up with a ultimate sandbox to play around in once the kingdom is saved, is so exciting to me that the game, in terms of hype, just went from a 9 to a 10 to me. I think this trailer in general did a great job, not spoiling anything, but still get my excitement like through the roof. And I kind of just wanted to vent about some points that you may have missed that have been on my mind when it comes to this trailer. I've seen all of the other things, trust me, I've watched all of the other videos. I just wanted to point out things that were specifically interesting to me that I feel like I haven't really heard other people talk about. Again, sorry for a non-scripted, non-edited video and more of a rant-style video. This is the entire point of my channel. Later today, there will be a normal LimQ Plus video where I'm going to be playing the game a little bit, make some progress, and pick one of these topics I want to go a little bit more in depth into. So if you want to, you can subscribe and catch these videos every single day for 43 more days. This is it. I think this is it. The game is coming. We know it's done. I think this is all we're going to see, and it's incredibly exciting. So thank you for waiting with me, and thank you for watching my brief analysis take on this game. Sorry for my voice and me being sick and stuff. Check out my reaction to the gameplay initially in the description if you want. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later for another daily video. Peace.